The hour of 4:30 having arrived, I would call to order the meeting of the Common Council on Thursday, November 9th, 2023.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. We have 12 members voting in civic clerk and 12 members in the chamber.
All right. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And you can be seated for the invocation. In a similar vein of Alder Galvin's comments at our last meeting, we've got Thanksgiving right around the corner, so I thought I'd read a few words of poetry. The poem is titled Gratitude by Anna Kaminska. A tempest threw a rainbow in my face so that I wanted to fall under the rain, to kiss the hands of an old woman to whom I gave my seat, to thank everyone for the fact that they exist, and at times even feel like smiling. I was grateful to young leaves that they were willing to open up to the sun, to babies that they still felt like coming into this world, to the old that they heroically endure until the end. I was full of thanks like a Sunday alms box. I would have embraced death if she'd stopped nearby. Gratitude is a scattered, homeless love. On to approval of the minutes.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve the minutes from our joint finance and personnel meeting from November 2nd, 2023. That was made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Stevens. Any changes there? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Approval of the agenda.
To approve.
Motion to approve made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Eck. Any changes here? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The agenda has been approved. Well, we got the budget in front of us. I proposed it, so I think it's pretty decent. But I think, the work of the Joint Personnel and Finance Committee has improved things, especially for our employees, made some good substantive changes. In addition, though, just kind of looking back on what was proposed initially, wanted to again recognize our state government, Governor Evers, and our legislature for really bumping shared revenue for the first time in a couple decades. So $3.1 million came to the city through the shared revenue program, in addition to what we've been receiving in past years, and has allowed us to make some pretty critical investments while keeping property taxes in check. Made some investments in our traffic and K-9 divisions, created a new short-term rental inspector within community and economic development, enhanced our abilities with respect to facilities management, which is going to be a big need for us moving forward, just given the needs that we have here at City Hall and public safety in particular. So as I said, I feel like this is a good, responsible budget made better by the work of our committee, and of course asking for your support on that tonight. Now I will move forward to our public hearing, which is on the city's budget. Do we have anyone who'd like to speak to this item? Feel free to approach the podium and state your name. We do have Barbara Dorf listed, and then Jeanette Knill. And on this, I don't believe we need a motion because it is a public hearing.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Council. My name is Barbara Dorf. I live at 3375 Pebble Beach Court, Green Bay. Tonight I'm here to testify for the need for additional security at City Hall and the need to ensure funding for this in this budget. Many of you know that I've had 12 years of experience in school security, and since I retired, I've been a National ALICE instructor, a school safety building assessor, and I'm on the State of Wisconsin Office of School Safety Advisory Board. On Tuesday, November 7th, I attended the City Council meeting. Between 6:45 and 7 p.m., the Council voted to go into closed session and left the chambers. During this time, staff and citizens attending the meeting talked quietly in council chambers or went into the hall. Some even left. At about 7 o'clock, I was out in the hall near the doorway of the council chamber where I had been speaking to a staff member. I looked up and I saw a man who appeared to come out of the stairwell. He was tall, maybe 6 feet. He was wearing a long dark trench coat, closed and belted. He had on a black watch cap and a mask in the form of a skull over his entire face and black gloves. He walked toward me. I felt uncomfortable, so I asked, "What are you doing here?" And he answered, "I'm looking for those city council people." I asked him why he had a mask on and told him it made me feel uncomfortable. He said for Halloween. I pointed out that Halloween was over, and he stated that it was still the Halloween season. I asked him his name. He would not tell me, and I asked him to take off the mask, and he would not do it. At that point, I stayed in the doorway, but partially stepped back into the council chamber and called out to Chief Davis and Chief Knott. And asked them to step into the hallway. I want to stress that this person did nothing illegal. I said to Chief Davis that I felt uncomfortable because he would not take off his mask or tell me who he was. And Chief Davis took over from there. He, with Chief Knott and Detective Biller, nearby, then pleasantly spoke with this man. They can tell their own part of the story if they wish, as I only have 3 minutes. He did eventually choose to leave without being asked to leave. We do not have the technology here at City Hall that I had as a school principal, which enabled me to call up the cameras from the entire building to be able to see where this man had gone in the building. Our officer, Detective Biller, who I actually thank for keeping us safe after every council meeting, went to see if he was still in the building on the first floor. He was not, but he could have been on any floor because the stairs go up and down. At this point, several of us decided to leave. The parking lot is very dark at this time of year and is not well lighted. This was not a secure situation for me or for any of the staff or citizens leaving this building. I ask you to ensure that good quality working cameras for the outside and inside of this building are budgeted for, and that more lighting is installed, and that technology that enables the police officer at our meetings to monitor cameras throughout the building is made available. Again, this man did nothing illegal, and this time nothing bad happened, but it could have. And we must not wait until something happens to make this building more secure for staff and citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for our guest? Alder Steuer?
Well, I just wanted to thank you, Barb, for doing that and for getting the chief involved in that. And we were totally unaware of it in the other room, so
Right.
thank you.
Thank you. You're
Thanks, Alder.
welcome.
Any other questions? Alder Galvin?
I was wondering if we could have Chief Davis give his opinion of this incident. I'm going to be handing out some pictures of the person, if you guys would just pass them back and forth.
Okay. Chief Davis?
Sure. I think Barb pretty much explained what happened. And in a case like this, there isn't a law against coming into city council, a city council meeting dressed like that, but obviously we don't see a lot of people come to council dressed in Halloween masks and trench coats. And for me, this again just underscores a real need I think we have in this facility. And, as I have said before, it's a different world even than it was 4 or 5 years ago in terms of the threat environment that we run city government in, and that our city staff works in, that our elected officials live in. You pay me to worry about your safety, and so, I come at this from that perspective, but this is a real issue. And, in this case, I can't tell you what this fellow was planning on doing. He might have been planning on just sitting here and taking in the rest of the council meeting. I don't know. But I do think incidents like this are a reminder of, just the different world that we're in 2023, excuse me, when it comes to keeping our democratic processes safe, whether it's elections, whether it's council meetings, committee meetings, or just the day-to-day work of city government.
Okay. Thanks, Chief. Alder Galvin, anything further?
Thank you. Yes, I just have a few comments. That's what I did for 34 years. I was an instructor at NWTC for high-risk incidents, use of force. Things like this make me look at this room that we're in right now We're trapped here. If someone walks in that door there, there's nowhere to go for anybody in here. When we went through school, safety school training, it was all about being able to barricade yourself, or where do you go to seek shelter? We're unable to do that here. At the very least, we should think about spending the monies that are necessary to at least deter or make it safe for everybody in here. We have an officer here for this meeting, but we don't have any officers here for any of the other committee or meetings for any of the other organizations here. We only have a couple doors that can be locked remotely. Otherwise, this place is wide open. This individual could have gone upstairs. He could have gone outside. At the very least, cameras outside and inside would document if we ever find the person, if he does anything wrong, so we can try and prosecute him, but otherwise, we have nothing. Outside, it's dimly lit. I mean, it's a perfect place for something bad to happen. There was a loss prevention instructor. He always said, if it's predictable, it's preventable. And we know it's predictable. We see it every day in the newspapers and on TV, on the news, what happens in this country. And will it happen here? Probably not. I hope not. I pray not. I mean, I never had to use my sidearm ever in my entire career. But do you want to be that person there at that one time when you do wish you had better security? And I think we need to think about that. Do we want this room for people coming here to our meetings to feel safe? To be able to voice their opinion without having any fear? You know, these are things we have to think about. This isn't something about Second Amendment or anything else like that. It's about our safety and our security. And we have to do what's best, not only for us, but also for the citizens that want to come here and see the democratic process in action and be able to voice their opinions without any fear. Thank you.
Thanks, Alder. Any additional questions for Ms. Dorf? Thank you. We also have Jeanette Knill.
Hi, my name's Jeanette Cannell. I live at 3003 Emma Lane Drive, Green Bay, 54311's my zip, and I thank you for allowing me to speak today. I want to speak to an item that is part of the budget related to elections. And so I've been voting for 47 years, and in each election, I've checked in and signed my name on a piece of paper in a ringed binder. Yet in the past 47 years, significant changes have been implemented throughout our society to improve efficiency and decrease costs by utilizing computer technologies. Some of these changes are online banking and bill paying, direct deposit of payroll checks, shopping for groceries, and keeping in touch with friends and family through social media. Yet in Green Bay, voting is still utilized using old, inefficient, and costly pen and paper procedures. Badger books, which are electronic poll books that keep the entire voter file on them in one secure location, can move Green Bay ahead to the present. Badger Books is different from online tasks like banking because it is not connected to the internet. This assures that it is more secure than an internet-connected computer. Badger Books will increase efficiency of voter check-in, election day voter registration, and processing of absentee ballots. It can scan voter-compliant IDs in real time and auto-populate a voter's information into the logbook, which is much faster than using a paper list. Due to increased efficiency, less poll workers will be needed, lowering costs to facilitate the election and allowing the city to sufficiently staff polling locations. Badger Books will allow the clerk to upload data within 1 to 2 minutes using a secure thumb drive instead of having to input new voter information via paper. This will also reduce errors that can occur anytime a loose piece of paper is used to input data. Many communities have been using Badger Books since 2017, and in many cases have yet to replace them. Several municipalities in Brown County have already invested in this time and cost-saving electronic book. These municipalities include Lawrence, Ledgeview, Pittsfield, Scott, Hobart, Swamico, Wrightstown, and De Pere. And I'm asking each of you to please vote to adopt Badger Books, keep it in the budget, just as some of our neighboring municipalities have, moving Green Bay into modern processes and making our elections safer, less costly, and more efficient. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your testimony, ma'am. Any questions for our guests? All right, seeing none, thank you. Any other members of the gallery who'd like to speak? Yes, just approach the podium, state your name and address, in 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Natalie Hoffman. I live at 559 Rothy Street. I'm just here to speak on the additional funding that's been laid out for elections, which I hope that you will vote to support. Because I understand that there is some concern, there might be concern about funding in the mayor's proposed budget in the jump in election funding. But I just wanted to remind you all that that considers the cost of administering the 4 elections as opposed to the 2 in 2023. Elections have become a contentious issue nationwide and in our community, but with fears surrounding election integrity, I believe that maintaining adequate funding is a necessity to ensure free and fair elections and to be able to fortify trust and transparency in the voting process. So allocating adequate resources to our election infrastructure is not simply a matter of logistics. It's a commitment to ensuring that every single vote is counted fairly and accurately, and it's an investment in technology that secures our ballots, in training that prepares our officials, and in voter education that empowers our citizens to fully participate in the democratic process. Like, if you take like a really busy restaurant that just opened up, for example, and let's say that it's understaffed, it's the staff is running ragged, it's incredibly busy, the line's out the door, and the dinner rush wouldn't finish until 6 a.m. Kind of thinking along the lines of that's kind of what happened with the elections back in 2020 because of all of the issues that we were experiencing because of COVID, because of not enough funding, not enough resources. Would you vote to cut their budget? I don't think that you would vote to cut that budget. I think you would vote to increase the budget to be able to provide them more resources so that they could succeed. So I just wanted to express my support for that because this council has the opportunity to lead by example and to demonstrate that in Green Bay, we place the highest value on fair and free elections. And by committing to election funding, we're taking a stand for integrity, transparency, and the democratic principle that every single voice in the city of Green Bay should be heard. So I just wanted to express my support for that. So thank you.
Thanks for your testimony. Any questions? Thank you. Anyone else? Familiar face.
Every time, Mark.
Mark Berglund, 806 North Broadway. The city of Green Bay, our city, my city. I wasn't born here, I wasn't raised here. I moved here in the late 80s, and I'm never gonna move away. In my opinion, it's a pretty great place to live. I believe a recent survey even said so. We have police and fire departments doing their best to keep us safe. We have Public Works Department doing everything in their power to keep our city running smoothly. And as far as quality of life issues go, we have it better than most cities in the entire country. We have Bay Beach Amusement Park. We have 2 aquatic centers. We have a 3rd Olympic-sized swimming pool. We have a wildlife sanctuary that has animals for public viewing and rehabs injured animals. We have over 60 parks and green spaces that have numerous sports fields, kiddie wading pools, tennis and pickleball courts, tubing and snowboard hills, hockey and skating rinks in the winter, public gathering spaces all along the Fox River with more to come. And of course, we've got the Green Bay Packers. That all being said, I believe your average city of Green Bay resident and taxpayer is getting a pretty big bang for their buck, so to speak. Now that being said, now the part that no elected official ever wants to talk about, raising taxes. I know the mayor is budgeted for a 7.77 assessed rate. In 2021, it was 9.72. In 2022, it was 9.82. In 2023, it was 7.58 because of the reevaluation, and now it's being raised 2.46%. The tax revenue is why we have all these aforementioned things. I know nobody ever wants to pay more taxes, especially after a reassessment like we had last year. But we all need to take a look and see what we get for our tax dollars. In my opinion, we have it pretty good. So maybe that needs to be looked at. More tax revenue, more things we can accomplish. In the tax rate comparison provided, there are only two communities with lower tax rates, Madison at 7.11 and Appleton at 7.00. Neither have the amenities that Green Bay possess. And now for the spending part of those tax revenues. The Carlson-Detman proposed reclassification and wage compression issues that amount to $140,000. That same amount reconciles the leapfrogging issue. Particularly with the wage compression, I have a problem. That has nothing to do with job performance or assigned duties. It's all about the fact that the unions have bargained for a better rate than the city can pay its supervisors. Also, the department requested new positions and reclassifications to the tune of $760,000. The city is struggling to hire and retain employees we have now, and they want to add positions. You know, and that's the part of this wage study, I think, that does a lot. You know, there's a lot of good things in there, does a lot for recruiting, does some for retention in the 2% performance raise. You know, everything they want to implement in the new city plan are great. Where it falls short is with our long-term employees that have to wait till December 2024 to get their performance review. The hardworking, loyal employees that have to wait till the end of the year, last in line once again. How far would that $760,000 go toward moving up those reviews to a sooner date in the year? At Park and Forestry, 35% of my coworkers are in that December category. I would bet at the Department of Public Works, it would probably at least that many, likely more. In closing, I would like to thank the City Council and the Mayor for giving us the time to hear us out and take these things into consideration. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Berglund. Thanks for being so involved these last few meetings. Really have appreciated your input. Questions, Alder Campbell?
Mark, thanks for putting that all together. That's a really good summary of everything there.
Thank you.
And always appreciate your concern and calling us up and taking a look at things. And, you know, I think that park staff, especially at Bay Beach this year, did a admirable job when we had 7 rides shut down, and they literally put their lives on hold to get those rides up and going. And they did the best they could. Because I don't think anyone coming into town around that time of the year was looking to go back home and say the park was only half open. So I did recognize that and commend them for that and pass that on to you, especially with all our new rides. Out of that 35%, how many employees would that be?
15, I believe.
Okay,
You know, we normally have non-exempt hourly paid employees. We normally have 52. Right now, we're short 2, so we only have 50, and 15 of those are all in the December 1 category for reviews. And of course, them all being in December, it equates to the ones, you know, all the guys that have been there longest, you know? So yeah, it's 15 of 50, which I think is roughly 30%, 35%, somewhere in there. I'm not that good with numbers, but
I was just wondering how many that actually was. I mean, that's
15.
a good portion.
Yeah,
Pretty good
well, yeah,
portion.
yeah, you know, like I say, it's 15 of 50, you know, and it's all the long-termers, it's all the people with all the experience, you know, not to say anything bad about the new people coming in, you know, we bring them along, they try to hire good people, we train them as best as we can, but it's just awfully hard to replace, you know, 8, 10, 15, 20 years of experience. Those people have seen it all, they've done it all, You know, those are the people that we need to train the new people coming in the door. And it seems like, you know, being December, you know, we're the last in the pay line. Granted, there is a lot of provisions for being up, you know, for getting more money up front in this proposal. Like I had personally thanked Alder Galvin for that 1% COLA in January. I think that's great. You know, it gets a little bit more money to a lot of people sooner, and it's out-of-the-box thinking like that I think we all need and appreciate. But it just, you know, like I say, where it fails is all of our long-termers.
And then just to add to that, how do you think, I mean, I think it's, overall, I want your opinion on, with the Friends of Bay Beach, I mean, without them, and they know how hard you guys work down there. I mean, where would we be if we couldn't efficiently run that place?
Oh, we, you know, all of the donations that they've given us, we wouldn't be anywhere near where that park needs to be and should be and where we'd all like it to be. You
Sure.
know, and as far as the rides that were down this year, you know, if we have one ride down, we're going to meet somebody that brought their kid from 100 miles just to ride that ride.
Well, I know you guys are always down there to see some of that, because you're down there a lot, so.
No, the Friends of Bay Beach have been great. They've been very valuable. We appreciate their vision, everything they've done for us, absolutely.
I definitely think it needs some more attention. Appreciate your concern.
Thank you.
Thanks. Alder Steuer?
Mark, thank you so much. And I've told a few people this is my 12th and final budget. I will not be seeking reelection, so this is it's important. And I think of all the budgets that I've worked on over the years, this one has been quite interesting in the sense that we had a lot of input from the employees, from the administration. I don't know, I can't think of another time that there was more communication in that than this time. And you and some of the folks that spoke were a big part of that, and we appreciate that a lot. So I thank you for that, and hopefully we will make some good decisions tonight.
Thank you. And I appreciate your service. And that's another thing I would like to say. Yes, you know, I've only been involved with the city, you know, I've worked for the city for 8 years. I've only been actively involved in this for maybe 3 or so. And I enjoy it. I like to see how the machine works and the varying opinions and how we come to solutions and stuff like that. And I will have to say what you were saying, this year it has been very nice that we are having meetings, the open communication, we are offering suggestions, they are being considered. And I think some of these added proposals show that, and we really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Breaking some news there, Alder.
Yeah, anyway, some people know it.
Other questions? Thanks again.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. No. Any others who'd like to speak on the budget? Going once? Going twice? All right. Thanks again to all of you, city employees in particular, for your attendance at a number of these meetings, and again, for all the input that you've offered. Speaking for myself, and I think on this issue I can speak for Common Council, we really sincerely appreciate everything that you do for our citizens, and again, you know, welcome the input. Really glad to have it this time around. Hopefully it continues into future budgets as well. With that, we'll move along to, we're on to the report of the Joint Finance and Personnel Committee meeting. So here is where we would entertain items, or entertain a motion on the report. Motion to approve by Alder Scannell. Is there a second? Second. Seconded by Alder Galvin, and here is where we would hold items separately. Six. Any others?
Question, Your Honor.
Yeah, point of order?
Point of order. Point of order, obviously. It was raised, you know, the need for security. That's a football that just got tossed awfully quickly here that we, to handle on the floor here. I don't know.
Well, so some of you might know, there is a line item in the budget related to security, contractual services under the Parks Department for City Hall. So that is something that is in the budget
Right.
currently.
Would that, does Parks also take care of lighting outside and video outside, or is it just in this?
Where it stands, it's, like I said, it's in the contractual services line in the Parks Department
Right,
applying
right.
to City Hall. The way that, I think we've viewed it as sort of a placeholder, in the sense that we don't know exactly. We've got some good recommendations that have been shared with council by Homeland Security, some recommendations that we could move forward with, but put it there, because felt like that was, kind of a flexible place
Please.
to put it. And so that's where things stand. So I just want everybody to know that we have addressed it in the
Right.
budget,
Right.
but it's under that line item.
I was just wondering if that included the outside, or if that needs to be taken up somewhere else.
It doesn't necessarily indicate inside,
Indicate-
outside.
Okay, that's,
Yeah. I don't think that was a point of order, but that's okay. All right, other items to be held separately from the report? Hearing none, all in favor of the remainder of those items will signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, the report has been approved with the exception of item 6. Motion to approve item 6 made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Galvin. Now is, the floor is open. Alder Johnson, as chair of our finance committee, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to thank the members of council, not only those that were at the Joint Finance and Personnel Committee, but even those who were unable to make it there in person. I know did a lot of dialogue with staff and others to really get their questions answered. I agree with some of the comments that were made. This, to me, felt like a very pleasant budget experience because there were disagreements, but it wasn't like this huge debate. It was almost this problem-solving exercise, especially at Joint Finance and Personnel, where we had a two-way dialogue going on with a lot of our guests that came, as well as our council members and our staff and mayor. So to me, it felt really, really good to get where we're at. I appreciate that there are only 4 voting members of Joint Personnel and Finance, so that there may be some additional modifications here. But I feel like this is a very modest proposal and one that achieves what it needs to for the city. There were some great points that were raised tonight, one about security in particular that I would at least like to react to. And I want to clarify, those photos that came around, when you were talking, I thought you just meant like a face mask. This was a full-on scary Halloween mask. So I appreciate now a little bit more after seeing the photos, the sentiment that was shared and the importance of having that contractual services line item. Obviously, anything beyond that, I think it's important for the public to know that there have been ongoing discussions and research that is being done about how to make this facility more secure. I think the real question is how you fund those things. I think what's in the budget right now, in my opinion, is probably sufficient to achieve what we need. And when we get recommendations back about what physical improvements need to be made, that's the appropriate place for bonding, contingency, ARPA funds. I think that there are some mechanisms in there where we can act pretty darn quickly to implement, but without having tangible fixed numbers to what those improvements are, it would be hard for me at least to do anything beyond what's in the budget. During the discussion, I made a commitment that if we could implement the raises that we talked about, the recommendation that we talked about, which was 1% COLA immediately, 2% April 1st. We addressed the leapfrogging, as well as implementing the Carlson-Detman study, which I thoroughly support. My commitment was whatever amount that brought above the mayor's proposal, I would come forward tonight with an amendment that would reduce expenses and bring it down to at least the level where the levy level that the mayor had proposed. And so I'm prepared to do that. And I would make an amendment, move to, and actually, before I put hard numbers to this, Director Ellenbecker, I just want to make sure that I do have the right numbers. So I was showing that the levy impact was $195,000. We removed Lawview for $41,763.45. We reduced contingency, which left excuse me, let me back that up. What is, so we talked about the law view, right, coming off that number. You and I had talked about contingency, and then we have another account here, but can you just give me the exact number that right now is above what the mayor had proposed? Because we also did some 2% COLA for our seasonal salary positions, but we pulled that from contingency right away.
Correct. The levy increase from the mayor's proposed budget is $166,417.55.
Okay, and so my amendment that I would make is to reduce contingency by $17,492. And then, sorry, because my math was wrong when I came in here. So just gonna do a quick calculation. And then reduce account 50099, department turnover, by $164,625.55. That math's not right.
$148,925.55.
All right, you know what I'm trying to achieve, so
Yes.
that's the number.
The two of them would
Yep,
not.
and that would bring us back down to the mayor's proposal. And just to add some clarity to that, contingency last year was budgeted at $250,000. This year it was bumped up to $300,000, and that's been part of a multi-year trend to just tick it up a little bit every year. As those who sit on finance personnel, probably the whole council know, we haven't dipped into that a ton this year, which is great news. Contingency is a risk management tool, but I think 250, if it gets us to where we want to go this year, I think to bring it from 300 back down to 250, I think is an okay and relatively risk-free move. The reason I opted for department turnover on the other item is because I think it gives the staff the maximum amount of flexibility to figure out where that department turnover is going to come from, but it also puts all departments in a position to participate in this process. And I think that's important because it sends a message that we appreciate everything that you guys have said and shared with us through this process. We appreciate that some of our represented unions and staff have benefited in a way that perhaps you have not. And then this shows to me the solidarity that everybody is in this together and that they are kind of standing up for our unrepresented staff and wanting to be a part of that solution. So that is why I chose that item, flexibility, participation by all, and then it gets us down to that same increase. So that is the motion.
Thanks, Alder. Seconded by Alder Brunette. Discussion on the motion or questions? Alder Eck?
The number.
Well, I'd have to defer to Director Ellenbecker for the contingency line item, but the other one was department turnover, which is 50099.
That's what I was looking for, wasn't you?
Alder Galvin.
Thanks. This 140,000 some dollars? Yeah, 148 coming out of department turnover. Is that the savings we would get when, say, someone retires and we don't replace them right away?
Yeah, Director Allenbecker, you want to just explain that for council and audience?
Sure. Our department turnover, it is sort of what Alder Galvin just mentioned, but what happens is we budget every position full, 100% filled rate throughout the whole year at the rate that we expect. We take into consideration what the increases we expect that they're going to get. So we budget at fill rates. We know, however, any position that's not contractual, when it's open, we will have some savings because we typically don't have it filled before somebody leaves. So we do have some savings from a open position. And so we track that on an annual basis. And so on average, we'll have $500,000 to a little over $1 million savings every year in open positions by time a position is filled. And so we, again, budget in full. And then we have another separate line item where we back off some of the salary dollars, knowing that we will always have some vacancies. I can continue on. Last year's budget was $910,000. We budgeted for it. This year I took it down to $800,000. So adding it back $148,000 would actually take it back up to $948,000. It was $910,000 last year. In 2022, we experienced That was an exception of the year, but the year before we had $1.5 million in savings. The year before, we had over $2 million in open positions. So this is probably not unrealistic. We would prefer to have our positions filled than to have this turnover, but this is a adjustment we put in our budget to offset some of the open positions that we will experience. You'll always experience some turnover savings.
Thank you. Alder Galvin?
So again, I'm not a mathematician either. So this is gonna be about a little over 10% of, say, about 15% of what we were estimating to have this year?
You mean the difference of the 148?
Yes.
Or the, yes. Yes, we're taking it up from 800,000 up to 948.
Okay. And normally that money then is used to offset, say, overtime to fill vacant positions?
No, this is really typically for all the other positions that are not contractual. Because in most cases, police and fire, if they are not filled, they have to, fill in with overtime. This is really for anyone who's on a performance, really the performance plan, non-contractual.
Okay, thank you.
Other comments or questions on the motion before us? Seeing none, all in favor will say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. That amendment has been adopted. Okay. Yep, motion to approve as amended has been made by Alder Scannell and seconded by Alder Campbell. Do we have other, yeah. Do we have other comments and motions and all the rest? Alder Wery?
Wouldn't want to disappoint Randy. No, I don't have anything harsh. I wanted to compliment you, actually, Mr. Mayor, on having the Alder request sheet. I've asked for years that we be involved earlier, and we did actually have a form that we could complete and suggest things, and I think I had 5 things I requested, and 3 of them were put in place, so I appreciate that very much. And then at the joint committee meeting, I suggested one more thing. It was the 2% raise for our seasonal workers. We did such a good job of getting the salary where we wanted. I didn't want us to keep falling behind, so that in another 5-10 years, we're behind again, so I appreciate you putting that in there. As we all know, the employee salaries were lagging behind because we clearly saw and heard, I don't know how many times Director Grenier would tell us that someone was leaving. We always, when he has an announcement, we'd always kind of grit our teeth. So we know we lose people, and we knew we weren't getting as good a qualified applicant, so I'm glad that we can address that this time. And regarding the security, and I know, you had pointed out the line, obviously it's going up about 150,000. I assume most of that's going to be for what we want to put in place, correct? So I just want that publicly known that we are addressing it, and I know we've met in some closed sessions, and we've seen different surveys from employees and suggestions, so we are going to be working diligently on that, so I appreciate you putting that in there. That's all I really have for now. It's less than 3%. That's what I always ask for. If you can keep it around 2, and it's 2 something. So, considering all that we're getting done, I'm pleased with the budget. Thanks.
Thanks, Alder. Additional comments or motions? Alder Campbell?
Kind of want to, being the second budget going through it, being most of a lot of the people here, 5 of us knew last year. It was kind of a crash course with all the ARPA money, but it left a very gray area. And I think Alder Burnett did a good job, and a couple of our senior staff, council people that we elected because of that reason, could lead us through some of that. And there was quite a learning process, and the ARPA money, we could use it in a one-time thing, but with the budget ahead of it, it always left a big gray area, and it was almost like a Christmas wish list, like a Christmas savings, so it's like, let's spend it on stuff we don't really, but with the budget ahead of it, we really did get and I think everyone here can say that was a great test, and it was well dragged out beyond what a budget can be, and it still will be implemented over the next couple of years, but I think at the end of the day, when we got through that process many months later, it really made a big difference, and it was a great way to learn about how to make a city function financially, but it really did throw an extra thing in there. And this year, I think, too, with the shared revenue, that made it a little bit easier, too. So I think in general, you know what I mean? I don't know if that kind of went along with the Packer draft or anything, but whatever the case may be, it's a good thing. So that's just my comment on it. You know, it seemed to flow much easier. There wasn't the, why don't we spend the ARPA money on this versus that, and let's just wait till the budget, and that was all a great learning process for everybody. And a lot of the senior members say, you guys are really on board with all this, but I think it was due to the fact that we got to crunch a lot of numbers around last year, and we tried to do what our job was for. And I would just like to say, I think because of last year, we're in a better position this year. And just wanted to add my support with that and the process.
Thanks, Alder. Other questions, comments? Alder Steuer.
Just to, thank you, Your Honor. Just to reiterate, like I said, you know, being my 12th budget here, went through many budgets where it took 10 hours sometimes, you know, line by line by line. Again, I want to reiterate that I think it was handled very well by the department heads, by the administration, by the finance committee, by the alders that asked questions, that did things. I'm proud that we were part of that process. So let's go. Let's do it. Thank you.
Thanks, Alder. Others? Alder Johnson.
I'd like to make a motion that we memorialize Alder Weary's comments in a plaque to hang up in the hallway.
Second.
What time is it?
Of course, I'm teasing. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay.
Story Boy was happy I made jokes the other day, so I had to get one in today. Yeah.
Anything else on this item? All right, we've got a motion and a second. All in favor will say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. That item has been approved as amended. Now we're on to resolutions. Final budget resolution 2024. We need to amend, Joanne, as well, on the resolution?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. As amended? Yeah, motion, Alder Scannell makes a motion to amend as discussed under the prior item. Is there a second for that? Second. Seconded by Alder Johnson. All in favor will say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The item has been amended. Motion to approve is amended, made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Steuer. Any final thoughts? All right. We will use the board.
Okay, you may vote now. On approve as amended.
And that is unanimous. What a difference a year makes. There we go. Before we get to petitions and communications, just to echo some of the thoughts earlier, thanks especially to Director Ellen Becker and our treasurer, Ms. Jose. Fantastic work. A lot of long hours, a lot of effort, but really appreciate the work that you two did in particular, but all the department heads and all the folks associated with the budget process generally really appreciate all the hard work. So with that, we'll do petitions and communications. Adjournment. Motion to adjourn by Alder Johnson, seconded by Alder Scannell. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We're adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
You weren't around Tuesday night.